Happy New Year, guys! Or is it? And I say that because most of us live by the Gregorian calendar, which is a solar calendar, and it's based on how long it takes for our planet to orbit the sun, which is actually 364.3 days for all of you who love useless trivia. So we live by the sun, and yet we also live with like a quasi-lunar calendar with our months loosely based on cycles of the moon's phases. Hey guys, nice to see you all here. The moon takes 29.5 days to round our planet, with 12 lunations taking 354 days. So if that doesn't sound like it quite adds up, it doesn't. A purely lunar year lasts about 11 days shorter than the Gregorian calendar that we live off of. Kind of messy, and I'm not sure why we're off by almost a day per month. But that's why traditional months or moons, you will find, in modern times are various lengths to make up for the shortfall, if that kind of makes sense. The word month is derived from a Proto-Indo-European word, mehensis, moon, meaning moon or month, and it's rooted in a Proto-Indo-European word, meh, think menses, the lovely joy of being a woman, which means to measure, referring to the month's phases as a measurement of time, equivalent to the moon, plus or minus the th at the end, which makes month. That's the math, but more importantly is the joy of closely following moon phases. Follow its phases carefully and observing it regularly and actively being aware of what it's doing, and you're soon going to develop a really cool sixth sense for exactly what phase the moon is in and where it's in the sky and how you can use it to best support your endeavors. New moons are all about planting new seeds, and the energy very much supports that, especially because we're so close to the Gregorian calendar in this new year. And thankfully, this year almost lines up perfectly. So we have all kinds of supercharged creation powers activated. So use it, guys. And I'm going to share with you a few of my resolution secrets that I only tell my clients. I see this stage of the moon cycle kind of like a wave, and you surf the wave with all the gusto that you can drum up for 14 days from the new moon until the full moon. And then the full moon in all its illuminating splendor is kind of like a light being turned on in a dark room. You can instantly see so much more clearly. So the full moon shows us where we could have chosen differently. And for the following 2 weeks after the full moon, it's a time of harvest where it shows you what you sowed in the first 2 weeks of preparing. So it's kind of like if you've ever surfed. After the full moon, you're out there paddling and you're looking for your next wave. And the time between the new moon and the full moon, which is now, you jump on that surf and you ride it as long as you can. So here we are, right at the first new moon of 2022. And the theme for this new moon is for the love of planning. How perfect is that? What is it that you are planning for this year? So the new moons are like a micro version of the whole year. They're kind of like mini years. So whatever your list of resolutions was, you can break it down into baby steps and separate them into 13 mini resolutions and work with one at a time in each new moon cycle. Yeah, I did say 13. Remember at the beginning how I mentioned that there's 11 days differentiation between the regular calendar we use and a lunar calendar? So this is a bonus new moon. Lucky us. And that means we have one more chance, one more cycle to go through all of the changes to become even closer to that person that we desire to be. And this is exactly the way that I coach my clients. So it becomes overwhelming when you're working on too many things at once. So say you have a New Year's resolution list and it got like 10 different things on there. It's like pushing yourself into unknown territory on too many fronts, and the safety alarm bells are going to sound, and you will back off of everything on your list, and they'll probably be the same resolutions for next year. So instead, I suggest my clients make them into bite-sized pieces and work with the moon cycles. And with this, you'll experience so much greater success, not to mention Your attention will be laser focused on one journey rather than scattered across many. The really neat thing about working with the moons is that each one has a theme, so that can be fun to work with as well. And if you've been following my moon themed videos, you'll see how each one corresponds to a universal energy. And that gives us clues on the best ways to go about using the new moon or the full moon energy based on the proximity of the astrological chart. Now, I'm not going to get into that because it's way too complex for this one. But what is important to know is that each moon has a theme, and if you work with the theme, you'll become naturally in sync with those rhythms. And who doesn't want to have the experience of just riding a wave across a finish line rather than feeling like you have to swim against the current to get where you want to go, right? Natural rhythms are here to make our life so much easier. We are here to be creators, so create the easy way. The theme for this new moon is for the love of planning. So with my clients, and I'm seriously giving some of my best secrets here, we reverse engineer it. So this is how it goes. We have 13 moon cycles, or 12 months, however you want to look at it. Now go to the end of this year in your mind. This is what I call imagineering. Using your imagination to engineer your life. Now put yourself there. Let's say it's the end, already the end of 2022. You're past the Christmas hustle and bustle and you're starting to plan your New Year's celebration. It's that gap in festivities where you're starting to talk about what you're going to do different in 2023. So can you just put yourself there for a moment? You're already there at the end of this year and you're looking back. So from this place where the whole year has already passed, what 12 or 13 things do you want to be proud of yourself for learning, improving, or experiencing? Now notice I didn't say having or attaining, because as I teach in my courses and my upcoming book, I teach a theory of be, do, have. Now this is key. The being state is the least dense energy to work with. Think of it like steam or vapor. It's really flowy and it's easy to move just by a wind current, right? It's the most flexible and malleable. And then the next stage underneath that is the doing stage. Think of doing like water. It's still somewhat flexible, but it works within the parameters of the banks of what's holding it in. And so it's somewhat restricted to the container that it is within, right? And this doing state usually requires the participation or the cooperation of others in one way or another. So the energy is a bit denser and it is somewhat reliant on others. Even if you were to buy a house or a car, yeah, you're the one who's doing the purchasing, but you're still requiring others to partner with you in financing or building or whatever the purchasing process is. So that's the doing stage. And you can see that it would have some limitations and restrictions on that level as well. Now, the densest level, which is our third level, think of it like an iceberg. It's a lot harder to move things. This is the having stage where we're just constantly trying to attain. And it's like when we're trying to create the physical world out of the physical world. It's like creating the car that you want from chipping away at an iceberg. It's a lot of hard work and effort. It's going to be required and it's really limiting. It usually comes with all kinds of mindset issues like lack and scarcity, where people believe that it's my iceberg and if I give it to you, then I don't have it anymore. And then what am I going to do, right? Obviously, from this perspective, you can see this is not the most optimal place to create, and it does use a lot more effort and it's a lot more exhausting. So I really encourage my clients to work with the being state, and then it will overflow with enthusiasm. It will create intentional actions in the doing. And remember, Lao Tzu said, there is nothing ever to do, but always action to take. This is what he meant. Don't make a list of doing things or having things for your resolutions, guys. Those will tire you out. Those things don't change as quickly or as easily because the energy is so dense. Now, instead, focus on do what you want to be different. So I coach my clients to focus on 13 intentional steps derived from the state of learning, improving, or experiencing. And when you learn something, you are often excited to share it with the world in one way or another, right? So then the doing bubbles out of you and your excitement, and you will naturally motivate you to take action, and the action will be in alignment with who you are, and you're going to have great opportunities in the having state. It rolls out of it. So you see how this works? And the same is true if you set your intentional steps on experiencing. So experiences change us at a ground floor level because they're experienced in our physical body. They biochemically rewire the neurons in our brains to believe that we can do something that we previously doubted about ourselves. And then from that new belief, again, it overflows into doing, intentional action, which is rooted in the new belief. And of course, a new belief is created, and then you're capable of doing things and changes the trajectory, and off you go, creating really cool things in the physical world. Isn't that so much easier? Doesn't that already sound like so much more fun than making a list of things you want to attain this year? So from the theme of for the love of planning of this new moon, and I definitely live planning, one of my greatest skills that I excel at, I will overplan everything. I highly recommend that you play with this idea a little bit. So to recap, number 1, I suggest to my clients and to you to use the moon cycles to supercharge your resolutions. Ride that wave when it's present from the new moon right to that full moon. You got 14 days of supercharged energy. Number 2, imagineer yourself to the end of the year and then reverse engineer who you want to be at the end. And then work backwards from there. What would that person have learned, improved, or experienced to get to where they are? Number 3 is work with the least dense energy so that you can exert the least amount of effort and enjoy the greatest gains. Always remember to work with the steam, not with the iceberg. And then let the excitement spill over into the denser areas, because by that time, you already have momentum rolling and it just keeps going. And number 4, if you need a coach to keep you on track and accountable and to share more insights like this on a regular basis, private message me and let's set up a personal plan for you so that you can execute it and enjoy the celebration of a new and up-leveled version of you at the end of this year. Yes or yes? Woohoo! So now I only have room for 7 more planning sessions for this next week. So if this is something that you need, don't hesitate because they will fill up quickly. I'll let you all get back to your hangovers and relaxing time now. I hope you have had a beautiful day. And remember that sharing is caring. So if you know someone who would benefit from this message, please feel free to tag them or send it to them. Because most importantly, also please remember that you are the magnificent creator of your own life. Go get them, guys.